Hello and welcome. In this video I will introduce you to CSS. I will also be explaining the CSS rule set. By rule set I mean the syntax or the way the CSS structure is put together. What is CSS? CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. CSS describes how HTML elements should be displayed. CSS is what is referred to as a style language and not a programming language. CSS is the code you use to style your web page. Just like a stylist can style your hair, you can use CSS to style HTML elements. A typical example would be if you wanted to style all the paragraph elements on your HTML page. If you want to turn the content or the text into red, this is how you would write the CSS. So the P will indicate the actual selector, which is the HTML element you're trying to style. The color will be the property that you are trying to apply, and the blue will be the value for the property that you're trying to apply. So what this syntax is saying, or this rule set is saying, I want to make all the paragraph element blue. Let's take a look at a typical CSS rule set. So the whole structure you can see on the screen is referred to as a rule set, but often called rule for short. So let me quickly run through the syntax here. So when you want to apply CSS to an HTML element, the very first thing you do is you have to specify the element, and that is referred to as a selector. So in this case, the P here is the selector, which is the HTML element I want to apply styling to. Next thing you need to do, you need to put in an opening curly brace and a closing curly brace. Very important. You have the curly braces, and inside the curly braces is where you actually write the CSS. So it contains of different parts. So the color here, you can apply any property. The color basically is just one of many properties that you can use to style HTML elements. In this illustration, I am styling the paragraph element with the color property. That means I'm going to change the color of all elements that have got the P tag. Okay, so the color is referred to as a property, and then you use a colon. It's very important. You have to separate the property from the property value with a colon. You can see this colon here. Once you've indicated the property, then you have to give it a value, and this is known as the property value. In this example, I'm styling the paragraph tag, which is this P here, which is a selector. I'm changing the color property to purple. Okay, so that's how you do it, and when you finish, you have to end it with a semicolon. Semicolon is very important because it tells the CSS rule set that this is the end of this declaration. So the entire thing here, from the color property to the property value, is called a declaration. So these are the various parts of a CSS rule set. Before you can apply CSS to an element, you need to consider all these various parts. In this illustration, I've just got a single rule here. You can have multiple. For example, I could decide to add more properties. The color is just one property. I could add a size, which is another property, and then give the size a value. So there are different properties you can apply to an HTML element to style it. So the key points to note here is that don't forget the semicolon. If you forget the semicolon, the styling will not work. It will not be applied. So don't forget that. And also don't forget to separate the property that you're trying to style from the value. So property and value must be separated with a colon. And don't forget the opening and curly braces. Your property and the value must be contained in between the curly braces. So you have to start off with a selector, being the HTML element you want to style. You can style any selectors. You can also style multiple selectors at a time by separating each one with a comma. But in this illustration, just to make things, keep things simple, I'm just using one selector. In this video, I explained what CSS means and also illustrated how a CSS rule set works. Thank you for watching, and bye for now.